With the second set, OP02 Paramount War, coming out next month, it is finally time to do the OP02 Zoro deck breakdown.
Card-D Kaizoku.
This is a preliminary list and will most likely not be the final one, as I learned the OP02 meta more and the new matchups that come along with it. First off, if you're new here or in case you need a refresher, we'll go over the leader. Zoro from OP01 Romance Dawn. He's a monocolor red leader with 5000 power and 5 starting life. His leader ability reads Dawn times 1. On your turn, all your characters gain plus 1000 power. 1 Dawn on him is essentially like putting a Dawn on all of your characters for free. The value of his effect only goes up with each character you have out in play, which is the crux of this playstyle in OP02. Now onto the meat of the deck. As you will notice, the vanilla 2-cost 4000 power cards from the OP01 version of the deck are gone. In their place are cards with slightly less power but provide a very strong card engine that patches up the weaknesses of Zoro from the OP01 meta. We have 4 Otama from OP01. She costs 1 and has 0 power with 2k counter. Her effect reads, on play, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2000 power during this turn. Otama is still an amazing card. Her on-play effect combos with Robin, Vista, Whitebeard, Jet Pistol, or can just make something easier to attack into. She's also a 2k counter on top of her amazing flexibility. Her being a 1-cost red card also fits into the engine of the deck that we will be going over later. Next up is 4 Makino, a new card from OP02. She costs 1 and has 0 power with 2k counter. Her effect reads, activate main. You may rest this character. Up to one of your red characters with a cost of 1 gains plus 3000 power during this turn. Same stat line as Otama. She's also a very flexible card. She's usable already just being a 2k counter, but she can enable any 1-cost card in your deck to suddenly become an attack threat by providing 3000 power at the cost of 1 Dawn to play her, and she can do this right away after being played. Next is 4 Nami from OP01. She costs 1 and has 2000 power with 1k counter. Her effect reads, on play, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Straw Hat Crew type card other than Nami and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. If you spent any time playing during OP01, you already know how good Nami is. She replaces herself and she can become a potent attacker in a Zoro deck. 1 Makino activation is enough to bring her to 5k, and with Zoro's leader ability active, she reaches 6k, enough to attack over all leaders except Whitebeard, which will tie. What makes Nami especially good among the searchers in other colors is that she can search for Jet Pistol, one of the best event cards in the entire game. Next is 2 Magra, a new card from OP02. He costs 1 and has 2000 power with 1k counter. His effect reads, on play, up to one of your red characters with the cost of 1 gains plus 3000 power during this turn. In my set review video, I didn't think this card was that great. I'm still on the fence about him, but I thought I'd try him out at 2. He can buff one of your other 1-cost red cards to take out a target this turn, and then he becomes a body that another Magra or Makino can buff as well. Next is 3 Gordon from the film promo packs. He costs 1 and has 2000 power with no counter. His effect reads, activate main. You may return this card to the bottom of the deck. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 3000 power during this turn. He combos with all the same cards that Otama combos with. He can also be buffed by Makino and Magra. His effect can be activated for free too, so you can do cool things like attack with them, then activate his effect to give something minus 3000 afterwards for another character to attack. He felt a little too bricky at 4 since he has no counter power, so I'm going with 3 for now. Next is 4 Sunny-kun from the film promo packs. He's a vanilla that costs 1 and has 3000 power with 1k counter. Sunny-kun becomes a beast in this deck. He's a Straw Hat card, so he's searchable by Nami. He costs 1, so he's searchable by Curly Dadan, which we'll go over in a bit. And he can be buffed by Makino and Magra. Being at 1 Dawn, it's so easy to just slip him in for the turn whenever you have 1 Dawn open. Next is 4 Curly Dadan, a new card from OP02. She costs 2 and has 3000 power with 1k counter. Her effect reads, on play, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 red character card with a cost of 1 or less and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Curly is what makes the new Zoro engine work. The weakness of Zoro in OP01 was his lack of draw power. You would slam down your whole hand and then depend on top decks or slowly get outvalued for the rest of the game. Curly being a secondary searcher that comes with a body fixes this issue. You can Curly Dadan into a Nami, then Nami into a Sunny. That's 4 Dawn to play 3 cards, and 2 of those cards came from your deck, so you still have the rest of your hand. Next is 4 Brook from the Straw Hat starter deck. He costs 2 and has 3000 power with 2k counter. His effect reads, on play, give your leader or one of your characters 2 rested Dawn cards. Along with Otama and Makino, Brook is yet another flexible 2k counter. You can use him to defend, or you can use him to give 2000 power to any character or leader. He was good in OP01 and remains good now. Next is 4 Vista, a new card from OP02. He costs 3 and has 3000 power with 1k counter. His effect reads, on play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3000 power or less. Vista has one job, and that job is to kill. What makes him so great is that his target doesn't have to be rested, like with green cards like X-Drake or Killer. And his condition is based on power, which is something that can be manipulated, unlike cost, unless you're playing black. Otama and Gordon bring many targets within range of his effect. The only downside is that he's not searchable by any cards in the deck, and he doesn't synergize with the engine of the deck. But I feel like his effect is good enough to warrant an inclusion regardless of that. Next is 4 Nico Robin from OP01. She costs 3 and has 4000 power with 1k counter. Her effect reads, Dawn times 1. When attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3000 power or less. She's one of the best early game cards. An unanswered Robin can decimate the boards of every other leader. She was amazing in OP01 and only gets better in OP02 with Gordon being usable now. Next is 4 Roronoa Zoro from OP01. He costs 3 and has 5000 power with no counter. His effect reads, Rush. If you've been a long time viewer, you already know why he's good. He has a vanilla stat line, which is great already, but he also has Rush, so he can attack the turn you play him. The final character card is 4 Edward Newgate. He costs 9 and has 10,000 power with no counter. His effect reads, on play, up to one of your leader gains plus 2000 power until the start of your next turn. Then you can add Then you cannot add cards from your life area to your hand by your effects this turn. Dawn times 2, when attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3000 power or less. He's the late game threat the Zoro deck so sorely needs. Whitebeard does so much for us. He provides great offensive capabilities by increasing Zoro's attack up to 7000. This is also an amazing defensive tool, as the 7000 power lasts even during your opponent's turn. He's a giant 10k body to begin with. And he has a mini Nico Robin effect to get rid of cheap blockers. Playing 2 to 3 of these in a row is oftentimes GG for your opponent. He's so good that you can run 4 of him and it won't break your hand because it is almost always worth it to play him whenever you have 9 Dawn available. We'll move on to the event cards. We have 1 Diable Jambe. It costs 1 and its effect reads, Main. Choose your leader or one of your characters with the Straw Hat Crew trait. During this turn, your opponent cannot activate blocker when that leader or character attacks. Trigger. KO one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 3 or less with blocker. I love this card in OP01. I'm still debating on whether it's necessary in OP02 though. With this new expansion, every other color just got access to more blockers. One thing I noticed with Whitebeard players is that they feel really safe the turn that they reach 0 life with the Marco out, and they usually don't leave up any Dawn for the bajillion event counters they run. I've won some games just attacking with Zoro for an unblockable 14k past a Marco during this window. I'll see as I learn the meta more if I really need this card or not. It feels okay to run at 1 since Dadan can search for Nami and Nami can search for Diable Jambe. The final card in our deck is 4 Jet Pistol. It costs 4 and its effect reads, Main. KO one of your opponent's characters with the power of 6000 or less. Trigger. Activate this card's main effect. This is hands down the best removal event in the game. Otama and Gordon lets you hit almost every card in the game. You're never sad to see it in your life area either. It's searchable by Nami too. It is the main tool by which Zoro builds advantage. The general Zoro game plan in OP02 is something like this. You flood the board with cheap characters that can draw into other cheap characters with cards like Nami and Curly Dadan. You control enemy board with cards like Nico Robin, Vista, Jet Pistol, Otama, and Gordon. As long as you do this, you'll be able to play more cards than they are able to take out each turn. And then you buff up your cheap characters with cards like Makino, Magura, Brook, and your leader ability to attack into their leader. Then you play Whitebeard and try to set up for a final blow the following turn. And then you attack with Whitebeard, you attack with your Rush Zoros and with your leader, and then try to end the game. I'll go over matchups in my version 2.0 revision video once I learn the meta more. For now, I hope this is enough to get you all started on your own OP02 Zoro path. Let me know if you guys are excited for this new way to play Zoro, because I sure am. Though I miss being able to use some of the other Straw Hat cards, this new Zoro deck is a lot more consistent and fun to play. I'll see you all on the sim. Okay, bye.
Card Kaizoku.